Hi everyone, Ryan here, and I'm the midlife skier. Today, I find myself at Breckenridge, where it's actually snowing outside. Kind of cool. I thought my season was over a couple weeks ago, but luckily my injury is healed well, pretty quickly actually. So today, I'm going to share my experience doing some spring skiing on a powder day at Breckenridge, Colorado. 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago, I was skiing at Stowe, Vermont, and on the first day I had an accident, fell on my ski and cut my leg really bad. I made another video about that, go check that out. I was pretty bummed. I thought the season might be over for me, but I knew I had a work trip coming up out here to Colorado. I was hoping on the tail end of that trip to be able to get in some skiing. In addition to the injury I had, the other thing that made me very uncertain of if I would be able to ski was all the Colorado ski resorts are shutting down. So if you know anything about this season and how bad it's been, especially here in Colorado and other places like Utah and California, many ski resorts have already closed as of today, April 17th. My one hope was holding on for Breckenridge. I know also A Basin is open, so I had that as a plan B, but I'd booked a hotel here at Breckenridge, so I was really hoping Breck would be open. As it turns out, Breckenridge obviously was able to stay open, barely. There's really just one run open. You take the lift up the Colorado Super Chair to 4 o'clock, and that takes you down to Springmire, and then you take Springmire down to the bottom of the lift. There is Park Lane. The park area is kind of open. It's actually closed today because they're having a snowboard half-pipe event, so they've been prepping that and having contestants do practice laps there. So that's been closed. Not that I would be doing a half pipe anyway. Luckily, with at least one run open, Breckenridge also got a large amount of snow Tuesday this week. Got about 8-9 inches overnight. And then I really lucked out today on Friday. They've gotten, I don't know how much it's going to end up being. It's got to be at least 4 or 5 inches. It's still going, so it's late afternoon. So I'm sure it's going to wrap up soon, but it could be, 5 to 8 inches here today on Friday. Let's talk about the ski experience. Obviously, it's pretty limited with just one run open, really just doing one run over and over and over. As you might imagine, at least the good news is that despite it being it turned out to be a bit of a powder day, the crowds are very low here. I never had any lift line. Pretty much every single lift I was on, I was in the chair by myself. The runs did get a little slightly crowded around 10:30 or 11 and later on, but I was out there very close to 8:30 when the lifts opened and had it very much felt like to myself. So it's been a great experience. Obviously, first thing is the snow just started. The conditions were very rough, very hard packed, very icy, technically groomed, but just big patches of ice. Very similar to what I experienced with my son at Keystone about a month ago. But as the snow came down, it really covered that hard pack nicely. And so the one thing I've had trouble with in the past is as a powder day happens, the powder builds up, obviously it gets chopped up and you start getting bumps. And I've had a lot of trouble with, skiing through those little bumps or that chop. Today I tried a different ski. I tried the Nordica Enforcer 94, and I was really curious about it because I know it's a much stiffer ski. It has metal in it, and I think it's kind of similar to what I've heard called a crud cutter, similar to a Volcal Mantra M7. I skied the Volcal Mantra M7 at Keystone about a month ago, and sure enough, it was fantastic in the crud. The problem I had with that ski was it was not tuned at all, and it was very difficult on icy hardpack. I could not get edge or grip or anything. So I was a little worried about that today with the Nordica, which I consider to be roughly equivalent, but a little different style. I was very pleasantly surprised. The Nordica was tuned pretty decent, and it was a standard rental. My Epic gear is shut down for the season, so I wasn't able to get my Epic gear, but it's kind of all the same stuff, I think. trying out this decently tuned, surprisingly decent tuned Nordica Enforcer 94 in a 173 centimeter length, I was very pleasantly surprised. The ski handled well on the hard pack, and the cool thing for me was when I tried the Vocal Mantra M7, I had to get used to it. I think I like hanging back in the back seat a bit, and the M7 won't let go of the turn if you're leaning back. You have to lean forward near the end of the turn. And that kind of freaked me out. It took me a little bit to get used to that. These Nordica Enforcers, wow, I didn't have to adjust my ski style at all. And so I've heard that they're much more compatible with kind of keeping your weight back on them a bit in the tail, longer in the turn. And I don't know if that's the case, but all I know is they came very natural. I immediately felt comfortable on them. And being my first time skiing back after my injury, I took it pretty easy, especially the first run or two, but I gradually got more and more aggressive. And as I did, the Nordicas really began to shine. I really just enjoyed them. And once the snow built up, it got choppy, bumped. They cut right through, just like those Vocal Mantra M7s. It was very nice. I didn't have my tips pushed around like I have with the Stokely Stormrider 88s or with my Armada Declivity 88s. Just push right through. The other interesting thing was when I would hit a patch of hard pack, I would need to be real careful with the skis, balancing my weight, maybe putting a little less weight on my downhill ski with other skis. But for whatever reason on these Nordicas, maybe because they're properly tuned, it just came super natural. It was very interesting. As I hit hardpack, what would slide out was the tail. The tail of the downhill ski would just slide out a little. The front, the nose, always did great. It gripped perfect. So again, I'm not a great skier. I certainly have a lot more to do on technique, but for whatever reason, these Nordica Enforcers just came perfectly natural to me and the way that I ski. So I really enjoyed them. I think I'm glad I got to try them because they were kind of last on my list to try this season. And I'm just super excited to try them again next year. Who knows, maybe if I get lucky, they will appear for my birthday or Christmas next year. I ended up having a good time today. Despite the limited run options, at least I got to ski, and that was really cool. I've never been to Breckenridge before. Obviously, I have no idea how this mountain is, just skiing one run, but it was fun. I ended up doing 13 runs of this same run over and over. My stats for the day ended up pretty good. I ended up with a vertical of 17,080 feet. I ended up with an average speed of 20.4 miles per hour, and I ended up with a max speed of 28.3 miles per hour. I didn't get a ton of speed because, again, it's a short run and it's pretty flat. And then with the powder, again, it was kind of hard to go very fast. It was either hard pack or powder. So definitely was not trying to win any ski races today. But all in all, had a good time, had a good day. The knee did well, so I was very happy about that. I was kind of worried, about my injury. Would it be ready again? It's been 3 weeks. Doctor said it should be good, but I really had to keep that left leg with the knee injury immobilized to let it heal. So I was worried that maybe those muscles would have weakened a bit or been out of shape, but held up great, no pain at all, and just had a really fun time today. Given the limited availability of runs here at Breck, I also chose to spend the day working on my Carve Ski IQ. It's been a while. I've kind of neglected it, just having fun skiing, either with my son or with my brother and nephews or with my wife. So I haven't really had a chance to work on Carve score. I did okay today, not very good. I ended up with a max ski IQ of about a 108, so definitely not back up to where I was in that 116 area. I did the coaching. It got harder and harder to do what it was asking, because with powder kind of piling up, you're just worried about cutting through the powder, handling the bumps. So trying to do smooth carved turns is a little hard, I think, in powder, at least for someone of my ability levels. But I got to remind myself, I've only really been back in this for a year. I skied 15, 20 years ago, 3 or 4 times total. But still taking 15 years off and now just being 1 year back in, I got to be patient. So anyway, worked on my Carve. That's kind of where it ended up. It was nice to be able to spend some time and work on it, and really just, again, had a fun time. Breckenridge was fun. Like I said, I definitely want to come back here, and spring skiing's pretty cool. So now this has me wondering, are there 1 or 2 other places I can try out? So I'm going to be doing a lot of travel for work. A lot of it will be out west. So we'll see if I'm able to squeeze in 1 or 2 or 3 more ski days in all this travel. So we'll see. So anyway, that's it for my spring skiing at Breckenridge, and I hope you have a great day.